Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Maldonado. I miss all of you so much. I know that's been really difficult. I hope that everyone is safe and healthy and staying busy and keeping a positive mindset. I hope that you have started your math practice at home. I know some of you have been on iReady and I really appreciate that. Keep up the hard work. And I also know that a lot of you signed up to receive laptops next week, which is amazing. So you'll be able to access everything online, such as iReady and all the other programs available to you. I wanted to start this video by going over 3 things on how you can practice and keep learning math at home. So on your computer, when you go to your dashboard, I've uploaded an icon. This is something new to you. It's called Extra Math. Extra Math is a fluency page where you can go on and practice all of your math facts. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The more you practice your math facts, the easier other things would be, such as long division. The next thing that's posted on the Frederick Harris page is the weekly math lessons. Every week you're going to have a different assignment to do. These math lessons are review lessons on what we've done throughout the year. You would just go onto your iReady account and you would try to do 1 session per day. Then the last thing is iReady math lessons. These are the ready math lessons that you do in Mrs. Andrews' room, in my room. This is your learning path based on your strengths and areas that you need more help on. So I would recommend doing at least 45 minutes a week. Obviously, the more that you do, the stronger you're going to become. So when you go on the Harris page, you're going to notice that the lesson of the week is on decimals. So in this lesson, I wanted to go over some key concepts on what you should remember while you're going on there and practicing. This is lesson 8. Our objective of the week is to read and write decimals to the thousands place using standard form, word form, and expanded form. So there's 3 different ways that you can represent a number. Now, this table here is going to show you different ways to represent a number. So this is the number that we're going to show using the different forms. So I know we did a lot of practice of drawing place value charts. Place value charts really help you understand what place the digit goes in and what the value of the digit is. So for example, the 8 in this number is a whole number. It's a whole number that goes into the ones. It goes to the left of the decimal point. Anything to the left of the decimal point is a whole number. Anything to the right of the decimal point is either a decimal or a fraction because it is less than a whole. So here we have the ones, decimal point, and we're going to be talking about how that means using the word and to separate whole number from decimal. We have the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So now after I put in my place value chart, I can easily take the number and write it in standard form. Standard form is a fancy way to say write it as a number. So the word form is just writing it out in words, just like you would say it as if you were reading it. So let's practice that together. The decimal point, I'm going to say and, because and separates the whole number from the decimal. 8 and 246 thousandths. So again, if I look at my place value chart, it makes it easier. 8 and 246 thousandths. So you would write it just like you would read it. This is called decimal expanded form. So what you would do is you would use your place value chart and then you would write it out looking at the place value of the digit. The 8 is in the ones. 2 is in the tenths. So as a decimal, I would write that as 0.2, which means 2/10, plus 4/100. That would be 0.04. Don't forget the 0 because you need to put that there if there's no tenths. The value of the 4 is 4/100. Here, 6/1000. That's 1, 2, 3 spots to the right. 1, 2, 3 spots to the right. 6/1000. And I know in my room we talked a lot about expanded form, and we sang a song, expand it, expand it. You stretch it out, expand it. Don't forget our song. Down here, what we did was we stretched it out using place value. So I have 8 ones plus 2 times 1/10. If I was to solve that, that would give you my 2/10. If I stretch this out, that would be 4 times 100th. If I multiply that out, that would get me 4/100. Down here, 6 times 1,000th. If I multiply that out, I would get 6/1000. Another way that you can represent expanded form is in fraction form, using your place value. So down here, same problem. 8 is in the ones. If I stretch it out, it would be 2 times 1/10, because the 2 is in the tenths, plus 4 times 100th, because that would give me 4/100. 6 times 1,000th, if I multiplied that, I would get 6/1000. If I was to take this standard form and write it as a mixed number has a whole number and a fraction. I would say 8 wholes and 246 thousandths. So in a fraction, that would be 246 thousandths. So I could represent it that way as well. Let's practice one together. If you want to pause the video so you can get a pencil and a piece of paper, I would recommend doing that now. Okay, let's read this problem together. 614 thousandths. Now I know if it ends in THS, it's referring to the decimal side, the thousandths. Our job is to write it as a decimal in standard form. So that again means just writing it as a decimal in numbers. So what I do first is I like to make my place value chart. Doesn't have to be fancy. Here's my decimal that separates the whole number from the decimal side. Over here, I'm going to write ones. Then I'm going to write tenths, hundredths, and then thousandths. Okay, now, the first thing I want to do is I want to see if there's a whole number. So I don't see the word and. Okay, if there wasn't the word and represents the decimal point because I'm separating whole number from decimal. So I don't see that. I see 614 thousandths. That's a clue. I know it's going to end in the thousandths. Can't forget my THS. All right, so I know it's a decimal. I have that, so I'm good. Now I'm going to write it in 614. Okay, so all right, 614. Now I'm just going to make sense. I'm going to say, is my answer reasonable? Does that look right? 614 thousandths. Yeah, that looks right. I put it in my place value chart, write it as a decimal. So I'm going to put equals 0.614 thousandths. let's try this one. It says 7 and, ooh, that's a key word, right? When I see that word and, I'm gonna put a decimal point because I know it's separating. 7 and 562 thousandths. All right, so I know it's gonna end in the thousandths. All right, so step one, I'm gonna draw my place value chart because it really helps me. Okay. Again, if you need to pause it so you can do your place value chart, take a minute and do that. All right, decimal, decimal. This is my whole number. Tenths, hundredths, and then thousandths. Okay. So our first job here is we're going to write it as a decimal in standard form. Ooh, all right, let's take a look. So I want to be very careful. I see the word and, so I know it has a decimal point. Okay, so 7 comes before that decimal point. All right, so I'm going to put the 7 in the ones. And then it says 562. So if you think of that like a whole number, 562. Okay, so I'm going to put that in my place value chart knowing that it ends in the thousandths. So 562 thousandths. All right, so I'm going to check for reasonableness. I'm going to read it through and make sure it checks out with what it says up here. 7 and 562 thousandths. That looks perfect. The next job is to write it in fraction expanded form. Okay, keyword here is fraction. So I'm going to write it out in fraction form. So I need to look at place value and I need to expand it, stretching it out like a rubber band, expand it. So I have 7 ones plus 5 times 1/10. Okay, because that would give me 5/10, and the 5 is in the tenths. Plus 6/100. Okay, so I represent that as a fraction as 1 over 100. So that would be 6 times 100. Oh, that looks like a 6. There we go. All right, so now last step here is I have 2 in the thousandths. So that would be 2 times 1,000th. Excellent. And I know that when we went over this in the beginning of the year, a lot of students really found putting in parentheses helpful to be organized. So if you want to separate it by doing that so that you can see it better, that is quite fine. Okay, so I'm going to double check my work. 7 ones. I could even say 7 times 1 because it's in the ones, plus 5 times 1/10, which is 5/10. 6 times 100, that means 6 in the hundredths. And 2 times 1,000th, which means 2 thousandths. So I'm going to make sure I completed both tasks here. I have standard form and I have expanded form. Got it. This is our last question together. All right, this problem's a little different because it's starting with the expanded form. So it's giving me that to begin with. I know that looks really, really tricky. It gives us 2 jobs to do. Step 1, it says write as a decimal in standard form. Write it in word form. Okay, so standard form means I'm going to put this all together as a decimal. It's kind of like a puzzle. We need to put it all together, all the pieces together to make one number. So what I like to do again is I like to put in parentheses. I'm going to start with 3 times 10. I'm going to add that to 6 times 1. I'm going to add that to 5 times 1/100th. And then I'm going to add that to 2 times 1 thousandths. When you go into middle school, you're also going to see this. It's going to say evaluate the expression. So I'm going to show you how to do that below. I'm just going to copy it, just so I have space. And again, I would write this down, pause the video, so you can practice with me as well. I know it seems like a lot of work, but once you get the hang of it and you practice it, it becomes much easier. All right, so the first thing I want to do is 3 times 10. 3 groups of 10 gives me 30. That's a whole number. Then I have 6 times 1. 6 groups of 1 is 6 wholes. Plus, 5 times 1/100th. Okay, 5 times 1/100th gives me 5/100ths. In fraction form, that would look like this. If I write it as an equivalent decimal, that would be 5/100ths. Again, this is where the place value chart definitely reminds you and helps you on where it should be, where the value of the digit is. And the last one is 2 times 1,000th. So I know if I multiply that, I get 2 thousandths. The decimal form is going to be 3 spots to the right of the decimal point. All right. Now, the next step is I'm going to combine all of these together so it's one number. So if you want to try it on your own, pause the video and try it on your own first. Okay, so I'm going to add my whole numbers together. That would be 36. And again, I know that my decimal point separates whole number from the decimal side. So I'm going to put my decimal point right here. I don't have any tenths, if you notice. There was nothing times 1/10. So I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder because I don't have any tenths in this problem. 5 is in the hundredths and 2 is in the thousandths. Okay, so I'm going to double check. This 3 is worth 30, 6 ones, 5 in the hundredths, that's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 5 is in the hundredths and 2 is in my thousandths. Beautiful. I did the first task. Now the next thing is I'm going to write it in word form. Right, so I write it in words on how I read it. Ooh, okay. I know the decimal point means and. So let me try it out here. 36 and 52 thousandths. All right, try one more time. 36 and 52 thousandths. All right, so I'm going to write it out. I'm going to use pink. I know spelling's hard for a lot of us. I'm not a great speller myself. Just try your best and sound it out. 36 and I'll put a little decimal point there. 52 thousandths. And remember that when you're using decimals, you need a THS. 36 and 52 thousandths. Awesome. Boop. Ooh. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to read you your problem now. Now it's your turn. So what I want you to do is I'm going to read you the try a problem. But this is for you. This is the you try part. So I'm going to read it to you. I want you to pause the video and I want you to solve it on your own. No worries if you get it wrong. It's just for practice. And then I'll reveal the answer at the end. Okay. Here we go. Now I can't read you the number because if I ever read you the number, I'd be giving it away. So here's your magical number. All right, you have 2 things to do. Job number 1, write write this number in word form. Okay, so I want you to practice reading it out loud. If you're working with your mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever, practice, go back and forth. How do you say this number? And if you want to draw a place value chart, I would do that first, and I would plug in all my numbers. Then your next job is you're going to write this number in expanded form as fractions. And I know that's the trickier part, but really want you to think about the place value and stretching it out using expanded form. Okay? So now your job is to pause the video, solve it, and when you're ready, click play. Okay, we're back. Now, I'm going to reveal the answer. I'm hoping you tried it, you gave it your best go, and let's see if you got it right. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, make sure you can see it. All right, so if you wrote it out in word form, it would be 9 and 126 thousandths. Don't forget the THS at the end. Your expanded form would be 9 times 1, because it's a whole number, plus 1 times 1/10, 2 times 100th, and 6 times 1,000th. All right, hopefully you did pretty well. And again, this is just a video to help you out to remember. It's been a few months since we've done this. Also remember, you have the lessons online to do. I uploaded a lesson video for you to help you on Ready and iReady Math. And at the end of the week, you can try the comprehension check. Now, don't do the comprehension check until the very end of the week, maybe on Thursday or Friday. That's really going to see how well you did. All right. Thanks for tuning in to see me in my basement. I look forward to next week with video number 2, and hope to see you soon. Stay healthy, be positive.